Hey, what's up, guys? Little man with a big opinion here. The most recent update I've got for you involving Ukraine. There's 3 or 4 things we're going to talk about today. But let me know in the comment section down below if I haven't mentioned something. And, you'd say it's a pretty important development. So the first thing, Russia's put their nuclear forces on a heightened alert. So we got people talking about nukes getting involved. A Ukrainian delegation went to Belarus and talked with some of a Russian delegation, but there's still fighting going on, so I don't know, or a lot of people don't really know the stipulations that either side has put into place, but, at least they're talking. And then the next thing is they have made it, much more widely known that the Ukrainian government has implemented a international, Ukrainian Foreign Legion. It's got a really long name, like the Defense of the Territorial, Sovereignty of Ukraine or something like that. But in my opinion, putting a picture of Ukraine as your profile picture isn't going to do anything. And the grounds are way too muddy on, is this organization actually donating money to Ukraine, or was this one set up by a different government? I've heard of 3 or 4 that they're already telling you quit sending money to this group because it's really a Russian group. I've heard of just hackers setting these up, trying to get a quick buck. But, actions speak louder than words, so if you are inclined to do so, then you just go sign up at your Ukrainian embassy and wherever it is in your country. People have been doing it since 2014, since the Ukrainians have been fighting the different Russian-backed separatist groups. And, there was one article talking about this British guy that's been doing it for the last 4 years. There's a group of 10 veteran Special Forces guys that, publicly announced they were the first to sign up under this new Foreign Legion group. 6 Americans, 3 Brits, and 1 German. So I imagine there will be a decent bit of coverage coming out of those people. And then the last thing is there have been thousands of protesters in Russia, protesting against the fighting, that have been arrested, assaulted by police. It's spicy in Russia as well. If you didn't check out my last video where I talked about the things that I've been purchasing, I do it every week, and I think I'll start to do, a weekly video showing you the things that I get each week as a prepper. Then check that video out. A little bit goes a long way if you can, get preps, be consistent with it, and, at the end of a month, it'll look a lot better than the end of the first week. At the end of 6 months, it looks a lot better than the end of a month. And once you hit that 1-year mark and you look back at everything you've put away, it looks a lot more impressive than the very first week you started. I think most preppers can agree you never feel like you get enough put away. It's something that you're going to put supplies away until the day you die, or, when the SHTF situation finally hits and it's go time. And everything going on, there's talks of peace. There's also talks of we don't want these other countries to join NATO. There's differing levels of, what people say different countries should get involved in. And so we need to stay vigilant with what news information is coming out. We need to make sure our go bags are ready. We need to, not break the bank. But if you're new to this, the first of my videos you're ever watching, then, spending a little bit extra just to hit that 1 month mark. And then you get on your consistent budget of, $50 out of all of these paycheck goes towards this, or I buy X bullets and X beans and X Band-Aids each week. Whatever your process is, if you are not prepping, then I would highly consider you add it within your budget. In my last video, I talked about 5% of my monthly paycheck goes into more prepping items. If you want to think of it from a country point of view, a big argument coming out of NATO and, why there might not be as much reactions going on now is every NATO country except the U.S. was not meeting their 2% of their GDP promise. The U.S. was doing 3.2. I think the last numbers that came out were for 2020. I don't think we've heard the 2021 numbers yet. But I would say 5% is a very solid amount of your monthly income to put into prepping. If you have more discretionary income, then up the ante, because you never know when the fighting could be on your streets. And I think that's one of the more extreme SHTF situations you can prepare for. But the lesser ones, power outages, natural disasters, sickness that keeps you out of work for, a week, 2 weeks at a time, surgeries, missing work for weddings or funerals, or, even thinking about it from a vacation standpoint. If you are not able to work every day that you typically do, then these prepping items is something to fall back on as a safety net. People tend to get wrapped up in the more romantic idea of, having a red dawn from a World War II situation or a zombie apocalypse, and you gotta have food and guns and stuff. But you can also look at what's going on in the world. If a Ukrainian, Russian, start of World War III isn't enough to get you prepping, then, your yearly snowstorm that knocks out power for a couple days, a decent-sized hurricane hits the coastal region of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida. I'm not going to name every single state, but, a decent hurricane hits those areas just about every year. CDC and FEMA say 72 hours worth of supplies, and there's a good portion of people that probably don't even have that 72 hours. From a historical standpoint, we're going to go all the way back to World War II here. There were, that war went on for, in the U.S., 4 or 5 years, and a decent amount of consumer products, those factories have been converting to wartime products. Most Americans had their own, victory garden, because we were using a lot more of our food to feed armies. We didn't have as much of the excess amount of foods that we see today. So if this evolved into, a worldwide conflict, then having the food stored up allows you to, if you don't have, typically we just call them garden these days, we're not calling them victory gardens anymore, but if you don't have the food production, then it's your buffer to start producing your food. It allows you to, get chickens and wait the weeks and weeks that it takes before they start laying eggs. It allows you to get a vegetable garden going and waiting the weeks and months before it starts producing food. I would say it allows you, time to get the fruit trees growing. But if you planted them as soon as the conflict started, maybe for peach, lemon, and lime trees, you'd get, a product out of it right at the very end. So if you think about it from that standpoint, I planted my lemon and lime tree last June, and they got about 3 years before they produced something. So that's saying halfway through a conflict, if it lasted 5 years, I'd be able to get something out of that. But there's people that planted stuff 10 years ago that have been reaping the benefits from that for the last 10 years. Your upfront cost of $15 to $50 a tree. Typically the first year it bears fruit, you get back about a third of your cost. And then the second and third years when you start to get a decent harvest from it. And in about 3 years of collecting the fruits of your labor, that product has paid for itself. If it's an apple tree, you're getting 15 to 25 years out of it. Peach tree, 15 years. Lemon and lime can be 25 to 30. Pear trees can be up to 30 years. And, if it's paid for itself that quickly, your return on investment is phenomenal. So think about these things, stacked to the rafters, because you never know when the conflict is going to hit close to home. And with that, let me know in the comment section down below what you're doing to get ready for these times. Like the video if you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel if you like what I'm doing with the channel, and the most important thing you can do is share the video with one friend or family member that would benefit from these discussions I'm having. And I'm thinking about building a bunker very close to my bushcraft shelter. And if that's the case and you want me to, video that, then let me know in the comment section down below what you think about that. And I'll catch you in the next one.